In the word osteocyte, the suffix cyt means, shall we look? CYT means cell, as in an osteocyte is a bone cell. So CYT means cell. Okay. Got it. Groups or layers of similar cells specialized to carry out a particular function are called, those are tissues. Tissues. That's what, yeah, I think it's what it is. Mm-hmm. What are the four major types of tissue in the human body? The four major types of tissue. How many ideas? These are all tissues, but they're talking about the four major types.
I think one would be muscle,
Right. Muscle tissue. Uh-huh. What else?
blood,
Blood is technically a type of connective tissue. I would say it's epithelial tissue, which is got several types, and then nervous tissue and connective tissue. That would be my guess. Let's check the book, click on it, but let's check what they tell you here. Because those are all tissues, but so cells, the basic units of structure and function in the human body, are organized into groups called tissues. Each type of tissue is composed of similar cells with a common function. The tissues of the human body are of four major types. So they're looking for these: epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous. Epithelial tissues form protective coverings and function in secretion and absorption. Connective tissues support soft body parts and bind structures together. Muscle tissues produce body movements, and nervous tissues conduct impulses that help control and coordinate all body activities. So those are the four they're looking for: epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous. So let's go back to the question. Connective, yeah, those are the ones they're looking for. Okay, cool. Next. Cells communicate with each other and other body parts by sending and receiving stimuli in, I would say, nervous tissue. Okay, so now match each tissue with its location. That's right. Found in the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. What kind of tissue is that?
I think it would be connective tissue.
Um, the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves is gonna be nervous tissue. Um, yeah, nervous tissue, because it says nerves. Um, connective tissue would be, let's see, touched wounds in the walls, internal organs, and the heart. It's epithelial tissue. Covers the body surface would be epithelial tissue. Um, attached to bones in the walls of hollow organs and heart. I would say attached to bones would be muscle tissue. And the one that says attached to bones in the walls, yeah, that would be muscle tissue. And widely distributed throughout the body would be connective tissue. Because there's different kinds of connective tissue in different places. And okay, the root word for suffix for cells is
I think it was CYT.
that's right. CYT. Good job. Okay. Of the four major classes, so of epithelial, nervous, muscle, and connective, of the four major classes of tissue, that covers all free body surfaces, forms the inner lining of body cavities, lines hollow organs, and is the major tissue forming glands. What kind of tissue is that?
I think it's the epithelium.
That's right. That's epithelial tissue.
How do you spell that?
Epithelial. No, no, not two L's.
Mm.
It's epithelial. E-L. So Lial. Epithelial. Medium. Cool. Okay. Okay. A tissue is defined as which one of those? Okay. Um, so go up because the definition was before that. So it says each type of tissue is composed of similar cells with a common function. So it's a group of cells with a common function. Tissues are a group of cells with a common function or a similar function. So it's the middle one. Okay. Good. The basement membrane is found surrounding all internal organs, between the epithelium and underlying connective tissue, lining closed cavities, or in between adjacent epithelial cells. Where do I find the basement membrane? Epithelial tissue are found throughout the body. Epithelium covers the body surface and organs, forms the inner lining of body cavities, lines hollow organs, and composes glands. It always has a free apical surface exposed to the outside or exposed internally to an open space. The underside of epithelial tissue is anchored to connective tissue by a thin non-living layer called the basement membrane. So the basement membrane is on the underside of epithelial tissue, and it's between the epithelial and the connective tissue. Okay. As a rule, epithelial tissues lack blood vessels. However, nutrients diffuse to epithelium from underlying connective tissues, which have abundant blood vessels. Epithelial cells readily divide. As a result, injuries heal rapidly as new cells replace lost or damaged ones. For example, skin cells and cells that line the stomach and intestines are continually damaged and replaced. So let's look at the underside of epithelial tissue is anchored to connective tissue by a thin non-living layer called the basement membrane. Okay, let's go to the questions and see what it does. So I would say between the epithelium and underlying connective tissue. Okay. Okay, now, so this is asking us about all four types of tissue. So the tissue that forms linings is blank tissue, while blank tissue supports soft body parts and binds structures together. Blank tissue produces body movements, and blank tissue conducts impulses that help control and coordinate body activities. What kind of tissue forms linings? Like line that, I'm sorry?
Epithelial.
Epithelial tissue. That's epithelial tissue. EPITHELIAL. Okay, what kind of tissue supports soft body parts and binds structures together? If two structures are together, they're what? They're connected. That's connective tissue. That's connective tissue. Okay. Blank tissue produces body movements. What kind of tissue?
I
Huh?
think it would be muscle.
That's muscle tissue, right? And the last one, blank tissue conducts impulses that help control and coordinate all body activities.
Nervous.
Nervous tissue, right? Very good. Good job. Next question. The major tissue type that lacks blood vessels, has cells that are tightly packed, and is continually being replaced is called
Nervous tissue.
no, that's not nervous tissue. Nervous tissue does sometimes replace itself, but it takes a long time. They're continuously replaced. That's epithelial tissue. That's why if you get like a something on your skin, it heals faster because those cells they replicate more quickly. That's epithelial tissue. Epithelial. There you go. Okay. The only major tissue that lacks blood vessels is blank. The only type to contract and produce force is
I think for the first one, it would be epithelial.
epithelial. And so there's only one option that works. It's epithelial and muscle, right? Because muscle tissues contract and produce force, right? They help us lift things, push things. Those are forces. Good job. Nice. The two main parameters used to classify epithelial tissues are the blank of cells and the number of blank of cells. I want to look this one up. This one was probably a statement in the book. Okay, so it says epithelial tissues are classified according to cell shape. So shape and the number of cell layers. Okay, so the shape and the number of cell layers. So let's go back to the question. So the two are the shape of cells. Shape goes in the first box. And the number of layers of cell. Layers. Good job. The type of tissue found covering The body or lining of organs is blank tissue, while the blank tissue is widely distributed throughout the body. What type of tissue covers body organs, covering the body?
I think it would be connective.
Connective is the second one. Connective tissue is widely distributed throughout the body. Skin covers the body, right? The type of tissue covering the body is epithelial tissue. So it's epithelial and connective. Tissue characterized by a single layer of thin, flattened cells is called blank squamous epithelium. What word is missing there? From yesterday. It's called simple squamous epithelium. Simple means there's one layer. Good job. What are the main characteristics of epithelial tissues? They contain blood vessels. They compose glands. They cover the body surface. They form the lining of body cavities, and they line hollow organs. Okay, let's look. Okay. You remember that one? Go ahead and check that. That's fine. What else does it say? Let's look. Let's look at epithelial tissue. So, all right, they're found throughout the body. They cover the body surface and the organs. So they cover organs. They form the inner lining of body cavities. So, like a body cavity, like your stomach, right? Or like your abdominal pelvic cavity. They form the inner lining, right? They line hollow organs like your stomach, and they compose glands like your pancreas, for example, or your sweat glands, right? It also has a free apical surface, attached, exposed to the outside, or exposed internally to an open surface. As a rule, epithelial tissues lack blood vessels. However, nutrients diffuse to epithelium from underlying connective tissue, which have abundant blood vessels. And they're tightly packed. Consequently, they form protective barriers in such structures as the outer layer of the skin and the lining of the mouth. Okay. So let's see what the question asks. So In general, they don't compose or contain blood vessels, so that's not one we're going to use. They compose glands, yes. They cover the body surface, yes. They form the inner lining, you had that. And they line hollow organ. So all four of those. Good job. Okay. Substances pass easily through simple squamous epithelium, which is common at sites of blank and the blank. I don't think we've read this yet. So we have to read down to yeah, I think we need to read a little further. Okay, yeah, here it is. Simple squamous epithelium consists of a single layer of flattened cells. These cells fit tightly together, somewhat like floor tiles, and their nuclei are usually broad and thin. Substances pass rather easily through simple squamous epithelium, which is common at sites of diffusion and filtration. So they're looking for diffusion and filtration. They're looking for that. Okay, diffusion. 2 F's. 2 F's and 1 S. There you go. Diffusion and filtration. Good job. Nice. Okay. The membrane that anchors the epithelium to the underlying connective tissue is called the blank membrane. Okay. The underside of epithelial tissue is anchored to connective tissue by a thin non-living layer called the basement membrane. Basement membrane. Good job. All right, cool. Identify 3 locations of simple squamous epithelium. So we might need to go back and look at that. Okay. They're common at sites of diffusion and filtration, but we didn't read about the locations yet. So you want to read that? So we need to scroll down to where simple squamous epithelium is. Okay. So they're common at sites of diffusion and filtration. For instance, simple squamous epithelium lines the air sacs alveoli of the lungs. So it lines the alveoli where oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged. It also forms the walls of capillaries, lines the insides of blood and lymph vessels, and is part of the membranes that line body cavities and cover the viscera. part of the membranes that line the body cavity and cover the viscera. However, because simple squamous epithelium is so thin and delicate, it is easily damaged. Okay, so it lines the alveoli of the lungs where oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged, forms the walls of capillaries, lines the inside of blood and neck vessels, lymph vessels, and is part of the membranes that line body cavities and cover the viscera. Let's go back to the question. And this is a check all that apply kind of question. So, lining the blood and lymph vessels, yes. Lining the alveoli, yes. It's a component of the membranes that line body cavities and cover the viscera, yes. Lines the small and large intestine, no. And it lines the kidney. I don't know about the kidney tubules. I'm not sure. I don't think it does, but let me see. Because I don't know what. No, the kidney tubules are cuboidal, so that's not it. And no, so just those three. Just those three. Let me go back to, yeah, okay. This tissue type can readily divide, yet lacks blood vessels. What type of tissue is that?
Epithelial.
That's epithelial, right? Nice. Okay. Okay, again, select all that apply. What are characteristics of simple cuboidal epithelium? Okay, we haven't read about simple cuboidal yet. So let's read about it, see what happens. Okay, so this is squamous. We want the one below it. Simple cuboidal epithelium consists of a single layer of cube-shaped cells. Okay, these cells usually have centrally located spherical nuclei. So the nuclei are round. Okay, what else about it? Is there anything else on this page? About simple, okay. Simple cuboidal epithelium covers the ovaries and lines most of the kidney tubules and ducts of certain glands, okay? So this is simple cuboidal. In these tubules and ducts, the free surface faces the hollow channel or lumen. In the kidneys, this tissue functions in the formation of urine in glands. It secretes glandular products. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the question now. So it's simple. So it's one layer of cells. It's cube shaped because that's what cuboidal is. So it's cube-shaped cells. And no, they have round nuclei. So I think it's just those two because they don't have flat nuclei. And it's not multiple layers, it's a single layer. So try those and see. I think it's just those two from that. Okay. Epithelial cells are primarily classified according to which two parameters? So how do we decide what kind of epithelial tissue we have? How do we decide what to call it? Is what it's asking you. By what?
I think would be function of the cell.
Not the function of the cell, because we already know it's epithelial. It's the shape of the cells. It's the shape and it's the number of layers of cell layers, the number of cell layers. So like simple squamous epithelium, simple means it's one layer. Squamous means that it's flat, like a scale. Simple cuboidal epithelium is one layer shaped like cubes. So it's a number of layers and the shape of it that we classify with. Okay. Okay, that's two parameters. Check your answer. Good job. Okay, here's the next question. Cilia extend from the free surfaces of the blank that line the female reproductive tract, where cilia aid in moving the egg cell through the uterine tube to the uterus. What kind of epithelium is that? What kind of cilia line the reproductive tract? Stratified squamous, transitional, simple columnar, or pseudostratified columnar? We might have to, I don't think we read about that yet. Okay, keep going. Okay, this is simple squamous. This is simple cuboidal. Keep going. Okay, so we're here, simple cuboidal cells. Okay, it aids no. Simple columnar epithelium. The cells of simple columnar epithelium are distinguished by being taller than they are wide. This tissue is composed of a single layer of cells with elongated nuclei located at about the same level near the basement membrane. In figure 5.4, the cells of this tissue can be ciliated or non-ciliated. Cilia extend from the surfaces of the cells and move constantly. In the female reproductive tract, cilia aid in moving the egg cell through the uterine tube to the uterus. So it's simple columnar epithelium. The answer to this question is simple columnar epithelium. Good job. The type of epithelial tissue that contains a single layer of thin, flattened cells is that's simple squamous. One layer, squamous meaning scale or flat. Simple squamous epithelium. Good. What are three functions of simple columnar epithelia? Three functions of simple columnar epithelia. Let's look. Go down to simple columnar epithelia. Okay. So, okay, that's where they are. The cells of the tissue can be, okay. In the female reproductive tract, they move the egg through. Okay, keep going. We need to go under the picture. Okay, so non-ciliated simple columnar epithelium lines the portions of the uterus and the digestive tract, including the stomach and large intestines. Because its cells are tall, this tissue is thick, which enables it to protect underlying tissues. So one of the things it does is protect underlying tissue. Simple columnar epithelium also secretes digestive fluids and absorbs nutrients from digestive food. Secretes digestive fluids and absorbs nutrients from digested food. Simple columnar epithelial cells specialized for absorption often have many tiny cylindrical processes called microvilli extending from their surfaces. These increase the surface area of the cell membrane. Okay, so the three things that it does is protect underlying tissue, secrete digestive fluid, and absorb nutrients from digested food. So let's go to the question. So their protection, secretion, and absorption. Yeah. What is the function of simple squamous epithelium? Simple squamous epithelium. So we have to go back and look at the function of simple squamous epithelium. So go down, okay. Okay. Simple squamous epithelium, okay, that's where they line. It's common at sites of diffusion and filtration. The line ciliary sacs of the lungs. It also forms the walls of capillaries and is part of the membranes that line body cavities and cover the viscera. Okay, let's see what it says. Let's see what the question says. I would say allows for diffusion and filtration. Because it's common there. The cells of pseudostratified columnar epithelium are organized into multiple layers. This, I think, is false. They look like they are. Remember, we talked about this yesterday, but that's why it's pseudo-stratified, false stratified. It looks like it is organized into multiple layers, but it isn't. So that's false. Which of the following tissues is located in the lungs and small blood vessels, facilitating gas exchange? Simple squamous epithelium. Pretty sure that's the one. Yeah. Because they facilitate gas exchange. Okay, so now we might have to go and read this one. Pseudostratified columnar epithelium commonly has blank on the apical free surface, which sweeps away the mucus produced by goblet cells. Pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, let's look at pseudostratified. Okay. Pseudostratified epithelium appears to be stratified or layered, but they are not. A layered effect occurs because the nuclei lie at two or more levels of the row of aligned cells. However, the cells, which vary in shape, all reach the basement membrane, even though some of them may not contact the free surface. Pseudostratified columnar epithelial cells commonly have cilia, CILIA, which extend from their free surfaces. Goblet cells scattered throughout this tissue secrete mucus, which the cilia sweep away. Cilia. Okay, so the answer there is cilia. Good job. Nice. A single layer of with centrally located spherical nuclei would be called single layer would be simple and spherical nuclei would be cuboidal. So simple cuboidal. C I. Good. The respiratory system passages are lined with blank columnar epithelium. The respiratory passages. You can look it up if you want. Look at columnar. Okay. So the cells of simple columnar epithelium are distinguished by being taller than they are wide. This tissue is composed of a single layer of cells with elongated nuclei located at about the same level near the basement membrane. Okay, but that's not where, let's go down. Go down under the picture. Simple columnar epithelium lines portions of the uterus. Okay, I think it's, go back up. I think it's simple. They were saying columnar, but I think it's actually, what is the, okay, the respiratory system passages are located with, it's not simple columnar. It might be pseudo-stratified. Let's read more about that. Scroll down a bit. The cells of, okay, keep going. Read that. I need to know where they are. Pseudostratified, here we go. Pseudostratified, there's the word. Pseudostratified columnar epithelium lines the passages of the respiratory system. Here, the mucus-covered linings are sticky and trap dust and microorganisms that enter with the air. The cells move the mucus and it is captured particles upward and out of the airway. So that's pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Pseudostratified columnar epithelium. So go ahead and go back. Go back to the assignment. And it's pseudostratified. P-S-E-U-D-O Stratified. Pseudostratified. Okay. Simple columnar epithelium. Which of these are true about simple columnar epithelium? Well, they're a single layer of tall elongated cells because simple, they're a single layer, right? And they're like a column. They're like that tall stack, like a building or like a ladder. So it's a single layer of tall, elongated or stretched out cells. So it's the first one. Good job. Indicate which of the following tissues protects against water loss, entry of chemicals, and microorganisms. Water loss, entry of chemicals, and I would, I don't know if it's keratinized, stratified. Let's look it up. I'm not sure which one this is. Or it could be pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Let's go down. It's not that. It's not simple cuboidal. That wasn't on the list. Keep going. Columnar epithelium. This tissue is thick. Okay, wait a second. So let's see. Simple columnar epithelial cells increase this. Typically, they're scattered along the columnars. These cells secrete a protective fluid. Okay, let's go down. Let's go to pseudostratified again. Pseudostratified. Okay, keep going. Pseudostratified. Here they are sticky and trap dust from microorganisms. Okay. Cells dividing. Okay. Okay, anything else in this section? That's it. Stratified epithelium performs as older skin cells are pushed. Yeah, so here, stratified squamous epithelium forms the outer layer of the skin, epidermis. As older skin cells are pushed outward, they accumulate proteins called keratins and then harden and die. This keratinization produces a covering of dry, tough, protective material that prevents water and other substances from escaping underlying tissues and blocks chemicals and microorganisms from entering. So it would be keratinized, stratified squamous epithelium. Okay. So it's the second one. Okay. What tissue functions in protection, secretion, and absorption? Protection, secretion, and absorption. I think that's, hold on. We had this question before. Um, Let me see. I want to say let me check. Um, let's see. What type of epithelium? That's simple squamous epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium is that one. Isn't it? Oh no. It's which one is it? It's um oh, it's simple columnar epithelium. Okay. Transitional. Okay, I knew it wasn't transitional. Start protection and secretion, but not absorption. Wait, so the question says protection, secretion, and absorption. So it's protection, secretion. So I guess it's simple columnar. Okay. Okay. It's simple columnar. Okay. That took a minute to figure out. Okay. That type of columnar epithelium, which cells contact the basement membrane and appear to be stratified or layered, but they're not, is called, that's pseudo-stratified. Pseudo-stratified columnar. That's that false stratified columnar epithelium. So PS, EU, DO, no, D as in David, O, stratified, STRATIFIED. Mm-hmm. Okay, match the epithelium with its description. So they have stratified squamous non-keratinized and stratified squamous keratinized. So located in the lining of the oral cavity, esophagus, vagina, and anal canal, the tissue is soft and moist, and the cells on its free surfaces remain alive. That's non-keratinized. And then it says located on the outer layer of the skin, epidermis, it forms a dry, tough, protective covering of dead cells that prevents water and fluid loss and blocks various chemicals and microorganisms from entering. That's keratinized. Okay. Pseudostratified columnar epithelia additionally have associated goblet cells from which mucus is secreted. Goblet cells. We've read about that before. Okay. Representative locations of transitional epithelium include the okay, I think okay, let's look because we haven't read too much about transitional epithelium, but I remember the urinary bladder being it. Read about it. We're looking for transitional epithelium. Simple cuboidal, columnar, stratified, simple squamous, stratified cuboidal, stratified columnar, transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium, uroepithelium, is specialized to change in response to increased tension. It forms the inner lining of the urinary bladder and lines the ureters. That's the tubules that extend from the kidneys and the superior urethra. So the urinary bladder, the ureters, and the superior urethra. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the question. So what do you think? Urinary bladder, yes. Superior urethra, yes. And ureters. No, the ureters, not the kidney tubule. What tissue is found lining the major passageways, like the trachea, windpipe of the respiratory system, due to its ability to move mucus? Transitional epithelium, pseudostratified columnar epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium, or simple squamous epithelium. Okay, so it has to have cilia. So the respiratory pathways, right? So okay, what type of epithelium? That's pseudostratified columnar. Pseudostratified columnar. Um, hold on, this is not the right. Pseudostratified columnar. Yeah, they don't have the word ciliated, but it has to be pseudostratified columnar epithelium. Okay, let's see what else we have. Okay, cool. The blank glands secrete their products into ducts that open onto surfaces, while blank glands secrete their products into tissue fluids or blood. The blank glands secrete their products into ducts. So the exocrine glands, EXO glands, secrete their substances through ducts into your body surfaces. Endocrine glands secrete their substances directly into your bloodstream. So exocrine glands are the ones that do it through ducts. So that's going to be the first one, the first option, exocrine glands. Secrete into ducts, and endocrines don't have ducts, so they secrete directly into bloodstream. Okay, let's see. Older skin cells accumulate proteins called keratins, K-E-R A-T-I-N-S, keratins. Go ahead. Nice. Which tissue functions in support, protection, tissue repair, support, protection, tissue repair, energy storage, and blood cell production? That would have to be connective tissue, I would think, because blood cells are produced by bones, and bones are connective tissue. So try connective tissue, because that's a lot of functions. Support, protection, tissue repair. Yeah. Connective tissue, I think. Yeah. What are the three? Okay, we're back to that. What are the three functions of simple columnar epithelia? Support, no, wait, absorption, is that simple columnar? I get these two mixed up. Simple columnar with the three functions of simple columnar epithelia. Absorption, secretion, and protection. So this is absorption, so it's the first three: protection, secretion, absorption. is a simple columnar. Okay. The connective fibers that are easily stretched by force, but will resume their original length when the force is removed, are called length fibers. Okay, we haven't read about this yet. This is connective tissue, so we need to review the book for this. This one we haven't read. So connective tissue have many roles in the body. They bind structures, provide support and protection, serve as frameworks, fill spaces, store fat, produce blood cells, protect against infection, and repair tissue damage. Connective tissues have at least two distinct cell types. The cells are not tightly bound together as they are in epithelial tissues. They're spread apart with an abundance of extracellular material called the matrix lying between them. This extracellular matrix is composed of protein fibers and a ground substance consisting of non-fibrous protein, other molecules, and fluid. The consistency of the extracellular matrix varies from fluid to semisolid to solid. Some connective tissues, such as bone and cartilage, are quite rigid. Loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue are more flexible. Keep going. Most connective tissues can divide. Connective tissues typically have a rich supply and are well nourished. Fixed cells, macrophages, fibroblasts. Where's the question? Thin connective tissue fibers that are easily stretched by force. I would say elastic fibers. Is it, let me see, I think it's fill in the blank. Go ahead and go back. I think it's elastic. Elastic fibers. Try it. Yeah, right. Because they're made from elastin. Okay. The epithelium is lining the vagina is not keratinized with living cells. It's the second one. It's not keratinized and the cells are alive. It's not keratinized and it's with living cells. There you go. The two major categories of connective tissues include connective tissue proper, which includes loose and dense connective tissue, and proper and specialized. I would say the second one, specialized connective tissue, which includes cartilage, blood, and bone. Proper and specialized. Okay. We had this question before. Which type of tissue is found lining the urinary bladder, ureters, and superior urethra? That's transitional epithelium. Excuse me. Transitional epithelium. Okay, next question. Let's see. The three categories of loose connective tissue are blank, blank, and reticular connective tissue. Okay, we haven't seen that yet. So let's. Okay, categories of connective tissue. Loose connective tissue, as the term implies, exhibit a loose arrangement of protein fibers that are not tightly bound together. Okay, let me read the paragraph before that. Connective tissue are classified based on the amount of cells, protein fibers, types of matrix, and are divided into two major categories. Connective tissue proper includes loose connective tissue and dense connective tissue. The specialized connective tissues include cartilage and blood, bone and blood. All these tissues will have their own unique cells. So there's loose connective tissue. Scroll down. Then, okay, that's still part of loose connective tissue. So I want to see what their categories are. Dense connective tissue consists of loose connective tissue, dense connective tissue. What's the third one? And no, that's not what the question is asking. Blank connected. Okay. The three categories of loose connective tissue. Oh, okay. The three categories. I missed that. Go back to loose connective. I thought they were talking about. No, it's three categories of loose connective tissue. So they have this apparently has three categories. So these include it's areolar. So this word here, areolar tissue, adipose tissue, and reticular connective. So areolar tissue, adipose tissue, reticular. That's the ones that we needed because it's just asking us about the loose connective tissue right now. So go back to the question and I'll show you. I thought it was asking about more broadly, but here it's just asking you about the three types of loose connective tissue. Areolar, Areolar. Adipose, Adipose, and reticular connect. Right. Glands that secrete substances onto a free surface, like sweat glands and oil glands, are considered. Those are exocrine glands. Exocrine gland. Okay. A specific type of connective tissue that stores energy in the forms of fat, cushions against trauma, and insulates against temperature changes is. Do you remember this one? Okay. So here we have it cushions. Okay, this is loose connective tissue. Keep going. It's gonna be down here. Okay. Adipose tissue develops when certain cells, called adipocytes, store fat as droplets in their cytoplasm and enlarge. When cells become so abundant that they crowd other cell types, they form adipose tissue. Adipose tissue lies beneath the skin, in spaces between muscles, around the kidneys, behind the eyeballs, in certain abdominal membranes, on the surface of the heart, and around certain joints. Adipose tissue cushions joints and some organs, such as the kidneys. It also insulates beneath the skin and stores energy in fat molecules. It's adipose tissue that does that. So this is adipose tissue. Okay. What is a role of connective tissue in the body? Support movement, covering body surfaces, or sensing changes in the environment. Support is one of the roles of connective tissue. Elastic cartilage has a dense network of elastic fibers. That's why it's elastic cartilage, I think. Let's review it, but I would think that would be it. Okay, so we're looking for elastic cartilage. So we're not there yet. That's adipose tissue. Keep going. dense connective tissue. Keep going. Okay, cartilage is a rigid connective tissue. It provides support, framework, and attachments, protects underlying tissues, and forms structural models for many developing bones. Cartilage extracellular matrix is abundant and is largely composed of collagen fibers embedded in a gel-like ground substance. Cartilage cells called chondrocytes occupy small chambers called lacunae and lie completely within the extracellular matrix. Scroll down. Elastic cartilage has a dense network of elastic fibers. Yeah, and is more flexible than hyaline cartilage. It provides the framework for the external ears and parts of the larynx. So it has a dense network of elastic fibers. That makes sense. That's what makes it elastic. Okay. So let's go back to the question. It has a dense network of elastic fibers. Okay. Next. What are characteristics of elastic fibers? Let's see what else it says about elastic fibers. Keep going. We didn't read enough. This is, okay, we need the elastic fiber section. Okay, whoa. Slow, go back. Elastic fibers are composed of a spring-like protein called elastin. These thin fibers branch, forming complex networks. Elastic fibers are weaker than collagen fibers, so that's one of the things on your list, but they are easily stretched and deformed and will resume their original length and shapes when the force acting on them is removed. Elastic fibers are abundant in body parts, normally subjected to stretching, such as the vocal cords. They are also called yellow fibers because tissues well supplied with them appear yellowish. Okay. Okay, let's go to the questions. Let's see what it says. They are weaker than collagen. That's true. They stretch and resume their original shape. That's true. Hold on. I only remember reading those two, but let me check. Okay, so they're not the most abundant. That's collagen. Are they the strongest? Let me see. So strongest connective fibers. No, those the strongest and most abundant are collagen. So I think it's just those two that we read. I think it's just those two for that one. Okay. Blood is a type of connective tissue. Connective tissue. Okay. Specialized connective tissue includes bone, blood, and cartilage. Those are the specialized ones. The other two on the list are called proper connective tissue. Okay. The type of tissue that has the ability to contract and move structures to which it's attached. You should be able to get this one. The type of tissue that has the ability to contract and move.
I think it would be muscle.
Muscle tissue, correct. Which of the following are subcategories of loose connective tissue? Loose connective tissue. We answered this one too. It's areolar tissue. I think it's, hold on. There's another category and I don't remember. Categories of loose connective tissue. Yeah, alveolar tissue. Hold on, let me see. I know that one already. That's not helping me. Areolar, adipose, and reticular. Areolar, adipose, and reticular are the three. So adipose tissue and reticular tissue, those three. They're all loose connective tissue. Okay. Let me go back to, okay, the three types of muscle tissue are cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle, and smooth muscle. Those are three types of cardiac. Okay. What is a function of adipose tissue? It cushions organ. The type of muscle tissue that is involuntarily controlled and has spindle-shaped cells that lack striations and a centrally located nucleus. Spindle-shaped cells that lack striations. So that's called those are smooth muscle cells. Smooth muscle cells that have a spindle-shaped nucleus. Spindle-shaped fibers, I mean. Yeah. The most flexible type of cartilage is elastic cartilage. Or, yeah. Or maybe they want hyaline. I'm not sure which one they want. But I think it would be elastic. Try it and see. Yeah. Muscle tissue that is found throughout the digestive tract and blood vessels. So, muscle tissue found that's also smooth muscle. That's also smooth. Okay. Which of the following is a type of connective tissue? Connective tissue. Bone. Bone is a connective tissue. Which of the following are characteristics of cardiac muscle tissue? So there's a bunch of characteristics. This is the one that's in the heart. This is so characteristics of cardiac muscle tissue. There are going to be involuntary, striated, and they have, let's see, and they have intercalcated discs. So they're the cells are striated. The cells are joined by intercalcated discs. Let me see. What else it says? Cardiac muscle is made up of long branched cells. So they're the cells are branched. The cells are branched. And no, they're not voluntary. Okay, I think it's those three because they don't have a lot of it. Those are the three. Okay, next one. Muscle tissue. What do muscle tissues do? You can get this one. What do muscle tissues do?
I think it would be contract in response to stimuli from the nervous system.
That's right. That's what they do. Very good. Perfect. Indicate the correct statement about muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle is the only type of voluntary muscle. Skeletal muscle is in muscles attached to bones. Okay. Hold on. I think there are two of them that are true there. Let me check. Skeletal muscle. Yeah, so the first one is true. Skeletal muscle is the only type of voluntary muscle in the body. And I think the third one, skeletal muscle is in muscles attached to bones, cardiac muscle is in the heart, and smooth muscle is in the walls of hollow internal organs. I think the third one also is true. The second one is not. So try that. I think there are two that are, yeah, okay. 3 histological categories of muscle are, okay, this one you want to look up because we want to get it in the same order as the book does. So the program will recognize it. So the 3 types of muscle tissue. Skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. That's how they have it in the book. Yeah, the order, okay, the nervous tissue also includes glial cells, Glial, glial cells, which lend support to neurons. This word is glial cells. IAL, glial cells. Okay. Oops. Oh, okay. Okay. They wanted a different word. Okay. We'll get it when we come back to it later. Indicate which of the following are characteristics of smooth muscle tissue. Smooth muscle tissue is involuntary, so that's the first one. Okay, so it's not voluntary, so it's not that one. Cells are, hold on. Let me look again at the characteristics of, no, I'm looking for this. What happened to my, hold on. Okay. Uh, oops. I think I've got too many tabs open. Let me see. Um, okay, so they're not striated, but they're spindle and they're slow to contract. Okay, let's see what they have on the list. So they're not striated. Smooth muscles are not striated. They lack striations. They lack striations. It's the one below, it's the one before the last one. And let me see how many nuclei they have. It doesn't say. Spindle shaped fibers. No, they have a single nucleus. So I think that's all of them for that one. I think that's all of them. Which type of tissue, muscle tissue, is found in blood vessels? That would be smooth muscle tissue. Because cardiac muscle is only found in the heart. That's smooth muscle tissue for this one. The intracellular junctions in cardiac muscle are called, okay, yeah, that's a hard word to spell. I think I have it here. Give me a minute. In how discs. I think that's the name of it. Let me see if that's the right one. Yeah, it's called oops. Yeah, let me put the word in the chat so you can copy that. That one is, I even misspelled that. It's, let me see. I always leave out letters when I spell this word. Whoops. Control. There we go. Intercalated discs. It's in the chat. I okay. Okay. The muscle tissue that lacks striations is smooth muscle. They asked you that already. That's why it's smooth, because it doesn't have streaks like the other two do. Okay, and which of the following are functions of neuro? Okay, let's look this one up because we didn't read about neuroglia, so let's read about it. Okay, neuroglial cells. Neuroglia support and bind the components of nervous tissue. So they support it, they bind them together, they carry on phagocytosis, and they help supply growth factors and nutrients to neurons by connecting them to blood vessels. Okay. They also play a role in cell-to-cell communication. Overall, they maintain a clean, healthy environment for neurons. So they support and bind the components of nervous tissue. They carry on phagocytosis. They help supply growth factors and nutrients to neurons. And they play a role in cell communication. So let's see. We have to choose the right ones. They help with cell-to-cell communication. Yes. That gets a check mark. They carry on phagocytosis. They support components of nervous tissue, but they don't transmit impulses. So I think it's those three. Try it. All right. Yeah. Which cell type has diverse functions, such as supporting and binding nervous tissue? Okay, we just answered that. What type of cell were we reading about? Neuroglia, right? Good job. And we're done. Nice. All right, Daniela. So tomorrow is it's the second time this meeting has been rescheduled, so hopefully it will go off without a hitch, but it starts at 10. So I'll let you know if I'm meeting early tomorrow or not, or if I need to move the meeting to Saturday this weekend, okay? But
Okay, that's fine.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
At least I think we got all the units done for this test now, right?
Yeah.
You don't have another one for the 22nd. So we can study the connective tissues more, especially the or the muscle and the nerve tissue, because we study the connective tissue a lot, but we might want to study the muscle, the types of muscle and the nerves some more. So see what happens with that. And we'll see what happens with your lab. today.
Okay.
Okay? All right, I'll be in touch, Daniela. Talk to you soon.